My husband, a general who had always prioritized family above all, suddenly became obsessed with night raids on the barbarian tribes. Every dawn, he'd return to the mansion covered in scars, with a cart half filled with enemy heads trailing behind him. Even when I was poisoned by a spy from the enemy state, he didn't have time to visit. Opportunities in battle are fleeting. Wife, wait for me to triumph and avenge you. I survived. At the palace banquet where he presented the barbarian king's flag to the emperor, celebrating my recovery with his military achievements, I requested a divorce. All the civil and military officials accused me of being jealous and unreasonable. Xiao Ju tore off his helmet and threw it at me, his eyes bloodshot with rage. You're wearing the imperial title I earned for you. How dare you throw a fit over the dead, if it weren't for the glory and wealth of you and our son? Why would I risk my life fighting on the blade's edge every night? I dodged the helmet, pointing coldly at the rouge-stained silk thread caught in the crevices of his armor. If you truly enjoy killing, stop using our mother and son as excuses. After the divorce, you can slaughter the entire world, no one will stop you. Silence descended on the hall of supreme harmony, so thick you could hear a pin drop. The emperor sat solemnly on the dragon throne, his expression unreadable. The empress froze mid-fan, and the gazes of all the officials pierced me like needles. Xiao Ju seemed to finally register what had happened. He strode forward, his anger still blazing in his eyes. Warning, stop fooling around in front of His Majesty. His voice was lowered, but it still carried the usual tone of command. His Majesty just conferred upon you the title of first-class noble lady. This is how you repay his grace. My father, the imperial tutor, immediately stood up and knelt. My daughter is unruly and has disturbed your Majesty. Please forgive her crimes. He turned to me, his face ashen with anger. You unfilial wretch, hurry and apologize to the great general. Do you realize whose honor you've disgraced today? Xiao Ju quickly helped my father up, putting on a magnanimous demeanor. Father-in-law, you're overreacting. Warning is just throwing a tantrum with me. It's my fault for arguing with her in public. He turned to take my hand, but I stepped aside to avoid him. I looked at him, the man I once thought I'd spend my entire life with. He was covered in the dust and blood of war, now revered as the god of war of the great Zhou dynasty. Everyone thought it was my great fortune to share half of the glory he'd fought for with his life. But the rouge-stained silk thread in his armor and the mixed stench of blood and powder on his body silently mocked my foolishness. I'm not fooling around. I met his gaze, every word clear and firm. Xiao Ju, I want a divorce. This sentence once again erupted like a thunderclap at the palace banquet. My mother-in-law, the Dowager Duchess of Zhengguo, immediately trembled with anger and pointed a finger at me. Xie Waning, have you lost your mind? What has the Xiao family ever done to wrong you? Xiao Ju's younger sister, Xiao Lingshan, rushed up to me. My brother risked his life countless times for you and Jingming. And this is how you repay him. As soon as he comes back, you want a divorce. You jealous woman. Can't you bear to see my brother happy? My father's lips trembled with rage, and he raised his hand to strike me. How could I have raised such an ungrateful creature? The slap was intercepted by the head maid beside the empress. Calm your anger, imperial tutor. This is a palace banquet. Xiao Ju stood apart from the chorus of accusations, as if he were the betrayed victim. He stared at me intensely. Give me a reason. Is there someone hiding in your mansion? He actually had the audacity to ask if I was hiding someone. I looked into his bloodshot eyes and the contemptuous gazes around me, my heart turning icy cold. Xiao Ju, ask yourself, do you truly not know why I want a divorce? Beside him, my dearest friend, Liu Ruyan, the daughter of the Minister of Personnel, quietly stepped forward and comforted me softly. Warning, don't be like this. Can't we talk this out at home? The general just returned victorious. You'll break his heart by making a scene like this. As she spoke, she glanced at Xiao Ju with concern, her eyes flowing with tenderness that made her look utterly pitiful. Xiao Ju's gaze softened as it fell on her. Ruyan, this has nothing to do with you. I sneered inwardly. Nothing to do with her. Our son Jingming was suddenly brought in by his nanny. Frightened by the commotion, his little face turned pale. When he saw me, he buried his head in the nanny's arms as if I were a monster. I don't want mother. Mother is scary, Jingming cried, stretching out his little hand, not to me, but to Liu Ruyan. Want Aunt Ruyan to hold me. My mother finally couldn't hold back. She hurried over and grabbed my arm, warning. How long are you going to act like this? For Jingming's sake, you should endure. Her words were like a blunt knife, slashing repeatedly at my already shattered heart. She was someone who could swallow her pride for the family's glory, but I wasn't. I knelt down to hug Jingming, but he cried even harder, kicking and hitting me. Bad mother. I hate you. You make father unhappy. Liu Ruyan stepped forward at the right moment, taking Jingming into her arms and soothing him gently. Jingming is good. Don't be afraid. Your mother is just in a bad mood. Her compassionate look made me seem like the unreasonable villain. Jingming quickly calmed down in her arms, clutching her lapels tightly as if she were his real mother. Holding the child, Liu Ruyan turned to me, a flash of triumph in her eyes, warning, did you hear some gossip and misunderstand the general? The general only has you and Jingming in his heart. Why hurt your marital bond over unfounded rumors? Her words seemed to defend me, but every sentence confirmed my crime of jealousy. Sure enough, Xiao Ju's face darkened completely. He grabbed me roughly, his grip so tight it felt like he would crush my wrist. Xie warning, apologize. Apologize to whom? I asked coldly. To me, to your parents, and to everyone whose joy you've ruined. I looked at him, suddenly finding the whole situation absurd. Dream on. The emperor, who had been silent all along, finally spoke. General Xiao, family matters should be handled privately. Today is your celebration of victory. Don't put the cart before the horse. Xiao Ju finally let go of me, but he still glared at me with fiery eyes. Fine, very well, Xie warning, if you insist on a divorce, then so be it. He turned to my father, his voice icy. But Jingming is the blood of the Xiao family, you take him away. I looked at Jingming in Liu Ruyan's arms and asked him one last time. Jingming, come with mother. Okay. The child clung to Liu Ruyan's neck and shook his head violently. I don't want you, you're a bad woman. I only want father and Aunt Ruyan. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, my heart was a barren wasteland. Very well, I said to Xiao Ju, the son is yours. As I left, I heard my mother-in-law's triumphant snort behind me. My son is such a hero, he'll have no trouble finding someone better than her. As for some people, being divorced by their husband and rejected by their own son, I'd like to see who dares to marry her in the future. My parents echoed her words, apologizing to the Xiao family. Rest assured, in-laws, if she wants a divorce, we'll treat her as if she were never our daughter. Stepping out of the palace gate, the night wind howled bitterly. The imperial phoenix crown weighed heavily on me. Making it hard to breathe, I lifted it off and threw it, along with the formal attire, to the palace maid who chased after me. Return this to the great general. When I arrived at the imperial tutor's mansion, I was met with closed gates. The gatekeeper spoke through the crack, his tone disdainful. Young lady, the master has ordered that you are no longer a member of the Xiao family, nor of the Xie family. You cannot enter the imperial tutor's mansion. I froze. How could I not be allowed to enter my own maternal home? The master said you've disgraced the Xie family in front of all the civil and military officials. From now on, you have no connection to the Xie family. With that, the gatekeeper ignored me. I smiled bitterly. They were truly ruthless. But it didn't matter anymore. There was nothing left in this family worth lingering for. I wandered aimlessly through the streets of the capital, when the noble ladies I knew saw me. They avoided me like the plague. Look, that's her, jealous and unfaithful. I heard she's keeping a young lover outside. TSK. giving up being the great general's wife to make herself a divorced woman. She must be out of her mind. I paid no attention to them, with my parents testifying against me. No amount of explanation would help. I checked into an inn and asked for a bucket of hot water. After washing away the exhaustion and humiliation, I finally allowed myself to cry silently. This was the feeling of being betrayed by the entire world. There was a knock on the door. It was my personal maid, Chundao. She had come with me from my maternal home and was the only one still willing to follow me. Young lady, I've found out, Miss Liu. She's been frequenting Jinyu Workshop in the southern part of the city lately. Jinyu Workshop was the largest jewelry store in the capital, and it belonged to the Liu family. What is she doing there? It seems she's choosing her dowry. Chuantao's voice hesitated. I heard that the Minister of Personnel intends to betroth Miss Liu to. She dared not say the name, but I already knew. Xiao Ju. He was moving fast. The divorce papers hadn't even taken effect yet, and he was already preparing to marry someone new. Chundao, go do something for me. The next day, dressed in plain clothes, I went to the scene hall in the west of the city. It housed many orphans displaced by the war. As soon as I entered the courtyard, I heard a commotion. Several lavishly dressed women pointed at a thin, small girl, loudly berating her. You little bitch, you dare to steal my purse, to be so bad at such a young age. What will become of you when you grow up? I stepped forward and saw that the girl was Ali, whom I had sponsored a few days ago. She stubbornly held her back, letting the women push and scold her, refusing to open her mouth. I protected her behind me, glaring coldly at the women. Ladies, in broad daylight, bullying a child, don't you think it's beneath your dignity? The leading woman recognized me. Who is it? I thought. It's actually Miss Xie, who was kicked out by her husband's family. She sized me up and down with disdain. What's this? You're not living well yourself, but you have the leisure to meddle in other people's business. I heard you didn't even want your own son, and now you're here pretending to be compassionate. How laughable. My heart tightened. What's wrong with Jingming? What's wrong? He was vomiting and having diarrhea all night last night, tossing and turning for half the night. This morning, he developed a high fever again. The general is so anxious that he's searching for doctors all over the city. You, as his mother, are doing well, and you're in the mood to stroll around here. In the hospital room, Jingming's small face was flushed red with fever, and he was sleeping soundly in bed. Xiao Ju and Liu Ruyan stood on either side of him, guarding him. As soon as I stepped into the room, the imperial physician scolded me with a stern face. Madam General, didn't I specifically remind you that the young master has a weak spleen and stomach, and must avoid cold foods? Why did you give him chilled lychees again? I didn't. Before he could finish speaking, Jingming woke up, weakly tugging at Xiao Ju's sleeve and weeping. Father, it was mother. Mother insisted I eat it. I was thunderstruck. When did Jingming learn to tell such lies? Liu Ruyan quickly took a handkerchief to wipe Jingming's sweat, looking at me with red eyes. WN Ning, what on earth are you doing? Even if you're angry with the general, you can't joke around with the child's health. The child is innocent. When did Jingming learn to tell such lies? Liu Ruyan quickly took a handkerchief to wipe Jingming's sweat, looking at me with red eyes. WN Ning, what on earth are you doing? Even if you're angry with the general, you can't gamble with the child's health. The child is innocent. Xiao Ju couldn't bear it any longer and rushed over to slap me across the face. Even a tiger doesn't eat its cubs. Xie WN Ning, if you have any anger, direct it at me. Why harm Jingming? I staggered and leaned against the door frame, my cheek burning with pain. At this moment, Xiao Ju's personal guard hurried in and handed me a brocade box. Madam, this is a luminous pearl that the general specially sought for you from Western region merchants. Please stop making a fuss, slap me in the face and then give me a sweet date. Truly his usual trick. I gave a cold laugh, took the brocade box, and handed it directly to Liu Ruyan. Since Miss Liu wants to be the new mistress of this general's mansion, consider this meeting gift from me. The old one, take it." Xiao Ju's face was livid. He snatched the brocade box, stuffed it into Liu Ruyan's hands, and roared at me, "Get out, I will never do anything so humiliating again." I turned to leave, but before leaving, I couldn't help but take one last look at Jingming on the bed. 3 days later was the day the clan elders had agreed upon to handle our divorce. I arrived at the Xiao family ancestral hall on time, but Xiao Ju was nowhere to be seen. His chief clerk brought a new divorce agreement, which listed the 7 grounds for divorce, including my being jealous, unkind, and unchaste. The last condition is that I leave with nothing, and all the dowry under my name will be left to the Xiao family as compensation. The general said, "If you sign this document, he will consider allowing you to visit the young master once during festivals." I tore the divorce agreement to shreds. "Tell him, he will regret it." I hired the most renowned legal advisor in the capital, and with a single lawsuit, I had Xiao Ju charged before the prefect of Jingzhou, accusing him of moral misconduct. Unexpectedly, Xiao Ju moved even faster than me. The next day, I received a summons from the Jingzhou prefecture. He had preempted me, petitioning the government to enforce a legal divorce on the grounds of my adultery and plotting to murder the legitimate son. On the day of the trial, the gallery was filled with Xiao Ju's supporters, including my biological parents. Xiao Ju, dressed in fine silk robes, strode confidently toward me and whispered softly, "It's not too late to regret. If you withdraw your lawsuit and calmly sign the divorce decree, I can, for Jingming's sake, ensure you have a comfortable life for the rest of your days." My parents also stepped forward, coldly warning me, "You repent now and bow your head in apologies, and the Xiao family may still remember some of our old kindness. Our Xie family will still recognize you as our daughter." I ignored them and walked straight toward the hall. The trial began, and Xianju's lawyer cited classics and listed my various charges. Liu Ruyan, as a witness, wept bitterly, recounting how she had unintentionally discovered my secret correspondence with an outsider, and how she had caught me giving cold-natured food to Jingming. She presented a thick stack of letters, filled with my lovelorn words to my beloved. The magistrate of the capital prefecture examined the evidence they presented and listened to Liu Ruyan's testimony. He was about to slam the gavel then and there. "The Xie family is immoral. The facts are irrefutable. This official decrees. Divorce is granted. The eldest son will be raised by the Xiao family, and the Xie family will leave with nothing." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Xiao Ju revealed a victorious smile, while Liu Ruyan excitedly covered her mouth with a handkerchief. But just as the gavel was about to fall, I said loudly, "My lord, hold on, I have an objection, and I have solid evidence to prove that the plaintiff, Xiao Ju, is actually the party at fault." The entire courtroom fell silent instantly, and everyone's eyes focused on me. The magistrate of the capital frowned, looking at me with annoyance. "Xie, this is a court of law. How can you be so unreasonable, with both witness and evidence present? What else do you have to say?" I said calmly, "Your Honor, I wish to summon a witness." The prefect sneered. "Your witness? Could it be your secret lover?" A burst of laughter erupted from the crowd below. I remained calm. "My first witness is an orphan girl from Xin Hall, Ali." As soon as I spoke, the chamber erupted in murmurs. What waves can a woman of ill repute, cast off by her husband, and a lowly orphan girl stir up? A mocking smile tugged at the corner of Xiao Ju's lips. Soon, the thin and small ape pair was brought before the court. She was a little scared, but when she saw me, her eyes became firm again. Xiao Ju's lawyer immediately attacked. "An inexperienced child, what can she possibly understand? How can her testimony be trusted?" "Whether it can be trusted or not, you'll know after you hear it." I looked at Ali and asked gently, "Ali, tell the adult what you saw on the street the day Prince Jingming fell ill a few days ago." Ali took a deep breath and said in a crisp yet slightly trembling voice, I saw a woman wearing the clothes of a Liu manor servant, buying a bag of iced lychees at a street stall. Liu Ruyan's face instantly changed. Ali continued, I recognize that woman, she often follows Miss Liu. I saw her carrying the lychees, sneaking toward the back gate of the general's manor, and handing the items to another nursemaid holding a child. That nun was none other than Jingming's wet nurse. Liu Ruyan immediately retorted sharply, Nonsense, you little wretch. You must have been instructed by her to speak such absurdities. I stared at her coldly. Why are you so guilty, Miss Liu? I have a second witness. Bring Nanny Wang. When Nanny Wang was led forward, her face was ashen with fear. At the sight of Liu Ruyan, she knelt heavily on the ground with a thud. Spare me, miss, spare me. By this point, the truth was self-evident. Liu Ruyan had bribed the nanny to feed Jingming cold, harmful substances, then framed me for it. Liu Ruyan's face turned deathly pale, her body swaying unsteadily. Xiao Ju's expression was equally grim. He never thought I'd find a witness, yet he still forced himself to hold his ground, even if this is true. It only proves Ruyan acted out of jealousy in a moment of foolishness. This has nothing to do with your infidelity. He pointed at the stack of letters. Are these letters fake too? I looked at the letters and sneered inwardly. The letters are real. Xiao Ju froze. Everyone in the hall froze. I admitted it. My father trembled with rage, pointing at me and shouting, Unfilial wretch. You actually did such a shameless thing. Shock flashed across Xiao Ju's eyes, followed by unbridled fury. Xie Warning, you confessed it yourself. How dare you stand here with any dignity left? Liu Ruyan also recovered from her panic, a flicker of joy in her eyes, facing everyone's gazes. I spoke slowly. I wrote the letters, but the recipient is not some outsider man. I turned toward the dragon throne, where the emperor had quietly arrived at some point. Listening to the trial from behind a screen, I knelt and said loudly, Your servant dares to beg your majesty to uphold justice for me. Please summon Her Majesty the Empress to testify in court. This dropped a bombshell. Summon the Empress to testify. The entire Jingzhou Prefecture Yamen fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. The prefect of Jingzhou slid off his chair in terror, scrambling to his knees. Holy, Your Majesty! Xiao Ju's face turned deathly pale in an instant. He stared at me, his eyes filled with disbelief. From behind the screen came the Emperor's deep, steady voice. Granted, soon. The head maid beside the Empress appeared in the courtroom, holding a brocade box. She paid no attention to anyone, striding straight to the center. By imperial order of Her Majesty the Empress, the head maid opened the box, revealing the stack of letters used as evidence. These letters are indeed written in Xie Waning's own hand, and the recipient is none other than Her Majesty the Empress herself. The hall erupted in shock. I had been corresponding with the Empress. My parents were completely dumbfounded, kneeling stiffly on the ground, unable to utter a word. Liu Ruyan was struck dumb, collapsing to the floor. I stood up, my cold gaze sweeping over Liu Ruyan, then over my so-called birth parents. Xiao Ju, did you really think I knew nothing about your dirty deeds? I pulled another piece of evidence from my sleeve, the very rouge-stained silk thread I'd found caught in the crevices of his armor. Your Honor, look, I presented the thread. This is called Uni Sho, cloud neon silk, tribute from the western regions. Its weaving process is extremely complex, with only 3 bolts produced each year, exclusively for the empresses and consorts in the palace to make clothing. Miss Liu's father is the Minister of Personnel. He is not entitled to use such a luxury. So I ask you, Great General, which noble lady did this thread, which belongs neither to me nor to Liu Ruyan, come from? My voice was soft, yet it struck everyone's hearts like a heavy hammer. Xiao Ju's night raids on the barbarians, his brilliant military achievements, the scars on his body, the enemy heads he brought back. A terrifying suspicion arose in everyone's minds. The true target of his nightly outings was never the barbarians. Xiao Ju's lips trembled, and he couldn't say a single word. The head maid stepped forward, took the thread, examined it carefully, then reported to the emperor behind the screen, "Your Majesty, this is indeed Uni Sho. It matches the fabric of the dress worn by Princess Consort Qi just the other day." Princess Consort Qi, the legal wife of Prince Qi, the emperor's own younger brother. The matter had now completely transcended the boundaries of a family dispute. Xiao Ju had been having an affair with a member of the imperial clan, using it as an excuse to deceive the emperor and falsify military achievements. This was high treason. "No, that's not true." Xiao Ju finally collapsed, pointing at me like a madman. "It's her. She framed me. Your Majesty, see the truth. This poisonous woman is framing me." The emperor stepped out from behind the screen. His face was calm, showing no anger or joy, but the coldness in his eyes chilled the entire courtroom to the bone. "Xiao Ju," the emperor spoke slowly, "whether your so-called night raids on the barbarians are true or false, I have ways to verify. I only ask you, were the scars on your body really inflicted by barbarian blades and axes?" The emperor's voice was soft, yet it made Xiao Ju tremble all over. "Send for the imperial physicians." 2 imperial physicians were summoned to the court quickly. Xiao Ju's face was no longer just pale, it was the ashen gray of a dead man. He struggled and roared, "I am a general of the Great Ju. I have shed blood for the Great Ju. You cannot treat me like this. A scholar prefers death to humiliation." Yet in the emperor's cold gaze, his resistance seemed utterly futile. 2 imperial guards stepped forward, ignoring his roars. Pinning him down forcefully and stripping off his outer robe, a screen was erected to block everyone's view, but everyone pricked up their ears, waiting for the final verdict. Time passed slowly. My father had collapsed completely to the ground, muttering, "It's over, everything is over." Liu Ruyan was already scared out of her wits. Finally, the screen was removed. The imperial physicians walked to the front of the hall, knelt, and replied with trembling voices, "Your Majesty." The general's wounds, old and new, overlap, but they were not inflicted by swords or blades. The wounds are thin and neat, more like they were caused by flogging with a specially made soft whip. A soft whip, everyone gasped. A great general with outstanding military achievements, his scars were actually from sexual pleasure in the boudoir. This was nothing short of a farce of cosmic proportions. The last shred of Xiao Ju's dignity was torn away completely. He collapsed to the ground, his eyes empty, like a soulless walking corpse. His so-called risking his life on the blade's edge every night was actually something entirely different. His so-called earning glory for his country was nothing but an absurd fraud. The emperor's gaze fell on me. "Xie Waning, how did you discover this?" I knelt again. "Your Majesty, Xiao Ju's actions were extremely abnormal. After surviving the poisoning, I grew suspicious, although I am just a woman. I know that battles are dangerous, there is no way one could succeed in night raids every single day, so I secretly sent people to investigate, only to find that every time he went to war, he went to a villa in the suburbs, and the owner of that villa is none other than Prince Qi. As for those enemy heads," I paused, "they are just old relics, collected from the public mortuary and mass graves to put on a show." I spoke casually. But only I knew the thrilling dangers behind every step I had taken since deciding to fight back. The emperor fell silent for a long time. Everyone understood that this was no longer a simple divorce case. It involved an imperial prince, a general holding military power, and the empress in the harem. This was a massive storm that could shake the very foundation of the country. "Liu Ruyan," the emperor finally spoke again, his voice devoid of any emotion. "Do you know your crimes?" Liu Ruyan jolted, kowtowing frantically. "Spare me, Your Majesty, spare me, your servant." Your servant acted foolishly for a moment. It was Xiao Ju. He deceived me. He said he would marry me, make me the general's wife. So I was bewitched, helped him forge evidence, and framed warning, to save her life. She shifted all the blame onto Xiao Ju. What about poisoning Jingming? I asked coldly. Liu Ruyan's face stiffened. Then she cried even harder. It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. It was Xiao Ju who hinted at it, he said. He said if Jingming got sick, making everyone think Wanning was a cruel mother, he could divorce her legitimately. I really just loved him too much. Pitiful, yet absurd. Even in the end, she used love as an excuse. When Xiao Ju heard her words, he suddenly laughed like a madman. Ha ha, ha ha ha, retribution, it's all retribution. As he laughed, tears streamed down his face. Xie Wanning, you're ruthless. You're truly ruthless. I looked at him, feeling nothing in my heart. Ruthless. Xiao Ju, you were the one who was unkind first. You had an affair with Princess Consort Qi, deceived Liu Ruyan into doing your bidding, and secretly spied on the ministers with malicious intentions. You treated all of us as your pawns. When did you ever show a shred of sincerity? I spoke my final words, the most fatal ones. Your Honor, I have one last piece of evidence. Chun Dao stepped forward from the crowd, presenting an account book. This is, the prefect of Jingjiao took it with trembling hands. This is Xiao Ju's secret account book, I explained calmly. It details every expense of his embezzling public funds in the name of military salaries, raising private troops, colluding with court officials, and monitoring movements in the capital. If forging military achievements and having an affair with the princess consort were the sparks that ruined Xiao Ju's reputation, this account book was the death warrant that would send him to the guillotine, raising private troops with treasonous intentions. This was a capital crime punishable by extermination of the entire clan. The last trace of color drained from Xiao Ju's face the moment he saw the account book. He stared at me in disbelief, as if looking at a monster. How did you get this? This account book was his deepest, most core secret. How could I possibly know about it? Of course I knew. Xiao Ju, did you really think I spent these years in the general's mansion as nothing but an ignorant woman who only cared about her husband and children? I looked at him, revealing my final trump card. The day I was poisoned, I didn't survive by luck. I sensed it in advance and swapped the poison. Scene Hall is not just a charity hall for orphans, it's an intelligence network I built with all my dowry and private property. Ali and the others are my most loyal eyes and ears. My voice echoed through the courtroom. Everyone stared at me in horror, including the emperor on his throne. In their eyes, I had been gentle, docile, and reasonable, a noble lady carefully raised by the imperial tutor's mansion, perfect for being the mistress of a great household. None of them had imagined the fangs and claws hidden beneath that delicate exterior. Xiao Ju was completely stunned. He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing, but not a single word came out. He had lost completely, utterly defeated. My father, the imperial tutor, finally recovered from his shock, not at Xiao Ju's crimes, but at my methods. He scrambled to his knees before me, grabbing the hem of my skirt. Ninga, my dear daughter, I was wrong. I was blind before. Hurry, and beg His Majesty for mercy. The Xie family is innocent. We knew nothing. His ugly face filled me with disgust. I shook him off, looking at him coldly. Who was it that said I had disgraced the Xie family and severed all ties with me? Who was it that, to curry favor with the Xiao family, watched their daughter be humiliated without saying a single word of justice? Now that the big tree has fallen, you remember I'm your daughter. It's too late. My mother also threw herself at me, clinging to my legs and weeping, warning, I know I was wrong. Save your father, save the Xie family, we're all your relatives. I looked at them, feeling nothing but bitter irony. Relatives? Where were my relatives when I was accused by everyone, driven out of my home, and left with nowhere to go? I ignored their wailing, turned to the emperor, and presented one last thing. the divorce papers Xiao Ju had sent via his chief clerk. Listing my 7 grounds for divorce, Your Majesty, the truth is now clear. Xiao Ju is morally corrupt, framed his lawful wife, deceived the emperor, and plotted treason. His crimes are unforgivable. The imperial edict was issued quickly. Xiao Ju, colluding with Prince Qi in treason with irrefutable evidence, was sentenced to immediate execution. All male members of the Xiao clan were exiled 3,000 li. Female relatives were confiscated as slaves in the Imperial Music Bureau for life. The Duke of Zhengguo's mansion was reduced to ashes overnight. Prince Qi was granted a white silk scarf to commit suicide in his mansion. Princess Consort Qi, the woman who had left the Uni Sha thread, was demoted to a commoner and imprisoned for life. Minister Liu of the Ministry of Personnel, for failing to discipline his daughter and having connections with traitors, was dismissed from office. Ordered to relocate his entire family back to their ancestral home, and never re-employed, Liu Ruyan, as one of the masterminds behind framing me, deserved a severe punishment. But in recognition of her role in exposing Xiao Ju, the emperor spared her life, sentencing her to become a nun at Ganya Temple outside the city for the rest of her days. As for my father, the imperial tutor, for his poor judgment that nearly led to a catastrophe, he was reprimanded by the emperor, ordered to stay at home and reflect, and stripped of all real power, leaving him with only an empty title. The Xie family became a laughingstock in the capital from then on. As for Xiao Ju and me, the emperor approved my divorce request and issued an edict granting me custody of Jingming. The first-class noble lady's phoenix crown I had thrown back to the palace maid was sent to me again, this time personally bestowed by the emperor, not as someone's wife, but in my own name. Xie Warning. For exposing traitors and rendering meritorious service to the state, news spread throughout the capital. The noble ladies who had once avoided me now greeted me with beaming smiles, respectfully addressing me as Madame Xie. I paid them no mind. Once the dust settled, the first thing I did was go to the former Xiao mansion to pick up my son. The gates of the general's mansion had long been sealed, and the courtyard was in chaos when I arrived. Imperial guards were inventorying the seized property. Jingming was huddled in a corner, held by a nanny, trembling with fear. When he saw me, his eyes were filled with terror and strangeness. Everything that had happened these days was too cruel for a 5-year-old child. He had watched his beloved father become a prisoner, his gentle grandmother and aunt dragged away weeping, and his favorite Aunt Ruyan curse like a madwoman. His entire world had crumbled before his eyes. I walked toward him slowly, knelt down, and held out my hand. Jingming, don't be afraid, mother's here to take you home. He looked at me, his lower lip trembling, and tears streamed down his face. Mother, he called me timidly, then threw himself into my arms and burst into tears. I did not return to the imperial tutor's mansion. After my parents sent 10 messengers to invite me back, even coming in person, only to be turned away, they finally gave up. Using the gold and silver rewarded by the emperor, I bought a quiet mansion in the capital, free from the entanglement of the Xiao family and the burden of the Xie family. Life was more